Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Please shout if you can't, but a very warm welcome to our fireside chat this lunchtime. And thank you all for joining, and also a big hello to anyone who is joining, who is watching this back as a recording. So I'll introduce myself, and I'm just going to get the slides up onto the screen. Hopefully this works. So hi everybody. So I'm Anthony Ridge. I am president of the Association of Government Vets, which is a BVA, British Veterinary Association specialist division representing the views of government vets. And I'm joined today by an illustrious panel of people for our fireside chat. So I have with me, and you'll see them on the screen, and they'll introduce themselves as they come through. But I've got Jane Clark, who is the Vice President of the Federation of Vets in Europe. I've also got Mark McCarthy, who is the President of the European Association of State Veterinary Officers. I have Liz Mullineaux, who's a past President of the British Veterinary Association and is one of our two representatives that we have at FVE. For the BVA, and then I've also got Claire White, who is our Vice President at the Association of Government Vets and a representative for AGV at EASVO. So you'll have probably gathered by that introduction that there's a whole load of different organisations that all represent vets in different capacities across Europe, and this. The aim of this fireside chat is really to bring this all together. So I'm supposed to introduce you all to all of these different organisations, what they do, how they work together, and also what value they can bring to you, both individually and collectively as vet surgeons working in the public health sector. So I'm going to hopefully try and launch a poll at this point, which may be in the polls tab. Or if somebody can help me, please share it. So we did hope to have a poll for a word cloud, although I'm not seeing it to launch. Oh, here it is. Thank you, Vibka. Super. So you should now hopefully see a poll, which is really it's a word cloud. Insert whichever words come first to your mind. But when you think of FVE, the Federation of Vets in Europe, what does it mean to you? What's the first word that comes into your head? Can everybody see the poll? Not yet got word. Oh, we've got 6 responses. That's good. Let's see if we can get to at least 10 responses. Super. We now have 10 responses, so I don't know if we can show the word cloud. Ah, yes, here we are. Hopefully you can see the word cloud. So the biggest word that's coming up is collaboration, which is good, because I think that's a big part of what FVE is all about. European community representation, equivalent of BVA, which I think we'll come into, cross-government, lots of letters. So I think we're hopefully going to move people across the course of the next hours from the sort of the lots of letters, which doesn't really mean much, to the actual understanding of what the organisations actually do. So I will move us then through to the next slide. So this is just to give a sort of a quick overview of what Association of Government Vets is for those that haven't heard of AGV. So we are part of the British Veterinary Association. We're comprised of vets working currently in government or having previously worked in government roles, and we exist to sort of represent the views of UK government vets to BVA, but also work internationally with Claire as our rep, representing our views at the European level to the European Association of State Vets. But I will now hand over to Jane to talk us, to give us an introduction to the FVE at European level, and then we'll slowly work our way back down to AGV level and then discuss how it all fits together. So Jane, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Anthony. And also just a comment, we have the chat live. We also have the Q&A. And I think we're going to need to make a decision as to where we might want people to put any questions. You can put them in either. But we'll have a think about that. And I really do encourage you to do that. I've seen a number of names in the attendees that I recognise, and many of you will recognise me. I'm currently the Director of Veterinary Services at the Food Standards Agency, but have worked in APHA. I've also been a past president of EASVO, Mark's the current president, and past president and the EASVO rep for AGV. So I've been pretty much in all of these word soup acronyms, including, Liz, the UKECG, European Coordination Group. So I have quite a lot of insight. But what I'm going to do today is, in the fireside chat, and it feels like the fires of hell still here in Cardiff, is just do a little bit about the FVE. So if we go on to the next slide, please, Anthony. You'll see there's a QR code in the corner. If you've got your phone ready, please use the QR code. It will take you to our website, and you can find out lots more. But basically, we're a large organisation representing 38 European countries through the national veterinary associations. Anthony has already said that it's the BVA and the RCVS that are our FVE members for the UK. That's over 330,000 vets across our membership. So it's really influential organisation. We have 4 sections. You're going to hear particularly today about EASVO, but many of you may be members also of VPHA, and they are represented in Europe in UEVH, the hygienists. Also, we have practitioners and vets in education, research and industry. So we cover all of the really core parts of our profession. And what we're really here about is bringing the veterinary profession together to work with and through others to enhance animal health, animal welfare, public health, and protect the environment. So it's no small ask, but we really need to focus on what we as vets bring to that space. Next slide, please. We have quite a complex structure. I really want to make the biggest call out first to our wonderful FVE office team. Willow is here today as well. She knows it's an important meeting. We've got Vibke and Lauren here supporting us, but the team led by Nancy DeBreen, our executive director, just does so much to make sure that we look good. I'm on the board. You can see the FVE board and the section boards as mentioned here. And we also have a number of working groups and task forces. So I'm very excited. We've just established a new animal health working group that that Claire is going to be a member of. And the animal welfare working group has been re-established, and Liz is going to be a member of that. We've got some really good, strong representation in those working groups as well. And at the top there, you can see our General Assembly. That is the assembly of the representatives of all of our members. We do that twice a year, once in a member country, and we've been to some amazing places. It's going to be Finland in June, so very soon, a couple of weeks' time. And then also in Brussels, where we're close to the sort of centre of power in the EU. And one of the things that the FVE does is really engage and is a really recognised and respected stakeholder of the European Commission, as well as representing our non-EU members, which, if your maths is good, you can tell is about 11 or 12. Excellent. Next slide, please. We have a strategy, and we've adopted our most recent strategy just this year, advancing One Health and One Welfare leadership, empowering a future-ready, resilient and sustainability-oriented profession, strengthening advocacy and legislation empowering the veterinary role, and strengthening the position of the veterinarian and the veterinary team. I hope everyone agrees those are laudable objectives, the devil is always in the detail and how we get to deliver those. And we do a huge amount of work, so to say, especially through our amazing office team, to make sure that FVE is the core of the discussions, helping us to achieve those outcomes. Next slide, please. One of the things I'm particularly proud of is our series of animal health webinars. And I think that you have all probably received emails about them. You can see there's a whole number of different category 1 notifiable diseases. We've covered avian influenza, only this week, Newcastle disease, lumpy skin disease, peste petit ruminant, foot and mouth disease, blue tongue. And we've also gone into the small animal world as well, and FIP, which I think is really important. This is a real One Health outcome when we talk about animal health. Please do ask if you want to find out where the recordings are. You can watch all of those webinars back, and there are reports from them as well. And then the next slide. We're here to be valuable to our members. How you are a member, we've explaining through AGV, through BVA, through RCVS, but also we've talked about the webinars. We have newsletters, which you can sign up for. They come around every 1 to 2 weeks, and they have lots of important and exciting information in them. And of course, to do that, we need insight, and we need insight from you, from our national members, and for the people who are the experts. So you can see there's a little sign for a webinar. There we go. That's me. I'm handing over to Mark as EASVO President, which is pretty much what I did as I handed over the EASVO presidency to him. Over to you, Mark. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks. Can you hear me okay, Claire? Yep, that's great.
We can hear you.
Yeah, hello, everybody, and very welcome to this discussion. I'll only speak for a few slides, speak for a few minutes, just to really outline what EASVO is, the European Association of State Veterinary Officers. It took me about a year of attending FVE meetings to learn all the different acronyms, and so don't feel a little foolish if you don't follow it all immediately. So yeah, if you just, next slide, please. So what and who are the European Association of State Veterinary Officers? We don't have as many member countries as the wider FVE because it's up to the national countries as to whether or not they send delegates to the various sections. We're well represented, however, as you can see there. Just to give you a flavour of who we are and what we do, that's our board. John Pierre, French guy working in policy, medicines. Connie is OV in Germany. Myself, I work as a manager of vets in veterinary public health in Ireland. We've Miko there, who is chairman of the Finnish Veterinary Society, and Andrea, who is an OV in Austria. So that's just the flavour of the people that we working and representing in EASVO. Next slide, please. And looks some slide here on some of the, I just wanted to give a flavour of some of the work that we're currently doing, trying to represent and learn better the needs of the state vets. We've done workforce surveys, and just an example there, the level of undergraduate training OVs get, and you can see there that it's pretty much measured in single number of weeks. So that can be an issue in various countries, and perhaps also a barrier to entry into the area of the profession as well. Next slide, please. And look, yeah, we dig into it a little bit, and of the aspects that people feel comfortable, what level of training they've had, and as you might expect, maybe food safety and animal health maybe follows more naturally for vets. But if you look at the area of animal welfare, for example, maybe perhaps not as comfortable as we feel with the level of training we had, and then other areas such as border inspection, and very importantly and interestingly, soft skills. A lot of people perhaps feel that this is an area that OVs could benefit in more training in. Next slide, please. So this is some of the concepts we've explored recently, and I'd pose the question, are soft skills essentially core skills for state vets? We typically don't work immune to either political or commercial realities, and official controls are exercised in that background. So working within that, increasingly soft skills and how to effectively communicate those, etc., are seen as core skills for state vets. Next slide, please. Again, just another example of an area we've explored and discussed, and the ethics is a special challenge for the official veterinarian. Again, we're working typically under a set of prescribed regulations, etc. And we've got our moral and our legal obligations, and quite often the official vet can be put in the middle of that. So it's just really how we deal with that and how best it can be advanced. Next slide, please. So yeah, just very briefly to look again at some of the issues we're currently discussing. We have a meeting in 2 weeks' time, as Jane mentioned, and this is some of the topics that will be on our agenda. So unfortunately, violence and intimidation against state vets is reported, unfortunately, quite commonly in various different member states. It seems to be across them all now currently. Online abuse, use of social media, the sort of societal value placed upon official vets as opposed to PVPs in various different countries, etc. So yeah, that's different in different countries. It's interesting to see how different vets both perceive themselves and perceive others in the profession. So EASVO would like to obviously adopt a policy of zero tolerance of any violence or intimidation against state vets. Next slide, please. And a very practical thing on the agenda currently is proposed changes around emergency slaughter potentially and what that means, and there's different perspectives from different countries and different competent authorities, etc. on that. Next slide, please. Illegal pet trade across Europe. Again, it seems to be quite a lucrative activity, and it's very often set in a very weak or poor regulatory environment. So really, it's trying to have an all Europe approach to this policy, and the EASVO will work along with the FVE on any submission they would have to the Commission on this. So next slide, please. An interesting development, an interesting change that we've had is we've really tried to embrace a EASVO Young Vet Network, and this is really member-led. It's not necessarily led, it's purposely not led by our board. It's led by young members, and we let you be as young as you feel, so there's no definition of young or old. And really the forum is really just to meet once a month and really just, we don't have all the solutions, but it's really sometimes valuable to understand that people in different countries have the same problems and how they might address it, what worked well, what didn't. So this is an option which is obviously open to all AGV members as well to participate in it. Next slide, please. And yeah, look, I just say within EASVO and within the wider FVE, it's a really positive organization. It's really enjoyable. There is opportunities for people to kind of dip in and dip out. You really get as much out of it as an individual as really as you put in. As Jane said, there's various working groups, etc., different sections. So there's always different roles for different individuals if you're putting yourself forward for them. Next slide, please. Yeah, just to say we have our website. The challenge obviously is to keep it updated and keep content and keep it alive, etc., relevant. So that's open again to all your members. Next slide, please. That's me finished. So I think it's over to, I think it's Liz now.
Hi everyone, really nice to see so many of you here. So I'm Liz Mullineaux, I'm the Senior Vice President of the British Veterinary Association and one of 2 BVA representatives who attend FVE. And we also form part of UKECG, another acronym for you, which is the UK European Coordination Group. So UKECG is made up of the UK representatives to FVE, so people who attend the various FVE sections, so those 4 sections that, again, you've seen some interesting acronyms for. BVA and the RCVS both attend the General Assembly, and then we have different representatives, usually through BVA specialist divisions, so AGV, BPHA, as well as others. So, for example, BSAVA is the representative on the Union of European Veterinary Practitioners. So what this means is there's quite a lot of sharing of information between UK and EU specialisms, and that means that everybody, not just BVA and RCVS, has got a representative voice here. BVA and RCVS themselves tend to go to the section as observers that's most relevant to them. So in my case, I'd go to the vet practitioners one, but other people will move around just getting an overview of what's going on. So what we do as UKECG is we normally meet before the FVE General Assemblies, and there are generally 2 of those in a year, one in Brussels or close to Brussels, and one elsewhere in the EU. So, for example, last time we were in Cyprus, and my colleagues are lucky enough to be going to Finland in a few weeks' time, which unfortunately clashes with BVA Live. So what happens at the UKECG meeting is everybody shares the work that has been going on in their various groups. And we also agree on how the UK will vote on any items that are coming up at the General Assembly. This always feels a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest, and somebody has a UK bit of laminated card to wave in the air and give the UK votes. The sort of things we might vote on are things like decisions around FVE finance, the admission of new FVE member countries, FVE policy positions. So those are things that might have come out of working groups, and any changes in things like FVE protocol. So UKECG is really nice in that it brings together people in the veterinary world who might not normally work together, I guess a bit in the same way that BVA Council would do. But we then to come together as the UK profession for that representation in Europe. Of course, our position in Europe keeps shifting and changing a bit regarding kind of how involved we are with the EU and how aligned with the EU at any moment in time we might be. But we're always made to feel really welcome, and we're able to contribute to all the sections that are there. I think there's also some things that come up in the UK. So, for example, recently the Competition and Markets Authority investigation into household pets. At the moment, that's only the UK, but most of the big corporates work across Europe. So we're an indication of what's potentially coming for other countries. The other example here might be our Veterinary Surgeons Act being reformed in the UK, and everyone's really interested in the changes that might be made there, particularly around things like how allied veterinary professionals might fit in. So it's not always that we're leading, sometimes we're learning from other countries, but often things are happening to us first that others want to know about, and that can be really useful and really collaborative. And I'm just going to hand over to Claire to see if there's anything she wants to add to that.
Oh, thanks, Liz. That was great. And the way you've described the UKECG and how it coordinates is a really accurate way of depicting how all of the different veterinary voices in the UK come together. And obviously AGV as the EASVO representative are coming alongside VPHA with the sort of the state veterinary medicine, veterinary public health, official controls sort of hat on. So that's where AGV contributes most, I suppose. And given that a lot of what is discussed within FVE and within the EU context often has a sort of a policy and state veterinary medicine angle on it, it's a really great thing to be involved in. So AGV, as we've explained, are the membership organisation in the UK that represent at EASVO, so the European Association of State Veterinary Officers. And that's where we can facilitate the sharing of technical knowledge amongst official veterinarians from the UK across Europe. And what's really great and speaks to that collaboration that you talked about, Liz, is the fact that obviously we're a non-member at the moment of the EU. We're a third country, and that status gives us a slightly different perspective on shared and similar challenges. We're not the only member that are outside of the European Union. There are other European veterinary organisations that are represented too, but they also have a slightly different perspective, and perhaps theirs is a bit more established and long-standing. And as everyone will be aware here, the UK position is in a state of flux again. So just as a bit of an update on sort of the things that we've provided input into recently with the government vet view on policy positions, they've included biosecurity and the animal health and vet visits that are mandatory under EU animal health law, but also feature in UK policy through the animal health and welfare pathways. We also give regular topical updates on issues that are relevant to UK government vets and government vets are dealing with that are interesting and also shared and similar to those in Europe. And we similarly get the useful information back and understanding from our colleagues in Europe about things like animal disease outbreaks. But sort of specifically, we're able to give updates on things like the SPS agreement that is currently being negotiated, because whilst it's something that some of us may be living and breathing all the time at the moment, it's also something that might not be that visible within member states to veterinary bodies. So we can sort of give a contemporary update. We're also able to sing about our successes as well, and things like the recognition of BSE negligible risk status for the UK has been a huge achievement that has been underpinned by state veterinary medicine and government vets, and it's something that has made a tremendous difference and is something that we're rightly able to talk about and speak about very confidently. Okay, so as you're hopefully getting an idea, and just to recap as well, I am the UK AGV EASVO rep, and now, as Jana said, also on the Animal Health Working Group for FVE. So hopefully I get to influence and contribute and make meaningful contributions on behalf of the UK and state vets to the FVE Working Group too. We'll have our first meeting hopefully in June, I think. So as you're beginning to understand, the AGV is involved at many different levels, and this is just a picture from our most recent General Assembly that we had in Cyprus back in November, and it's a great opportunity to come together with colleagues that become really firm friends from across the EU, and something that I personally really can't sort of place a value on, that sort of shared knowledge and experience. So I hope and aim to provide an active participation in EASVO for AGV, but I am representing the views of AGV. I am not the representative. So what I really hope, and this is sort of a bit of a call to action really, is that wherever possible, that we can get as much active participation from AGV members into EASVO. So some of that comes through information that we share, or the opportunities, as Mark has said, to join the Young Vet Network. But also as well, and this is another call to action as well, is that much of the information that's discussed before these EASVO meetings is discussed on AGV Council, and there are often slots open, as there are now, to join AGV Council. So it's a great opportunity to do a bit more, and most of it remotely, except for these meetings, to be able to do a bit more and really contribute to European policy and shaping it from a UK perspective. So, yeah, I'll move on, but just to, can you go back, Anthony, just for 1 second? Just to go back to that strengthening of professional networks, hopefully you've appreciated just how passionate I am, and we all are, about the European networks. But the Young Vet Network, and I'm going to use that as a strapline, thank you, Mark, that you're as young as you feel. The Young Vet Network is really open to anyone. It is free to join. It's an online community. There are over 30 government vets from across Europe at the moment, and it's a standing action point for all of us, really, to try and encourage more involvement. So please get in touch if you're interested in joining that, and you'll find how wonderful it is being able to talk and share sort of discussions with people across Europe. Okay, moving on. Thank you, Anthony. So just to recap what we've been just talking about throughout this presentation, AGV and UKECG bridges the gap between the UK and Europe, and AGV does that on state veterinary medicine footing. But as you understand now, hopefully that fits all the way across all of the veterinary disciplines in the UK, and we're able to support and inform with evidence-based policy and strategy alignment. So it helps us to collaborate, and it helps us with preparedness when we're able to talk about these things, and hopefully achieve better consistency to health standards, and share things that work and what doesn't. There's a great opportunity for the networking and of the sort of building those really good communication channels to share that knowledge, and in the end, hopefully that contributes to more resilient veterinary systems across all disciplines. So you can see there's a fair crowd of us by that picture. And it really is a wonderful organisation and a real force for good and movement within Europe that I hope you can be proud of AGV and its involvement, and UKECG more widely. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Claire, and thanks to all of our speakers for taking us through that incredible overview of so many different things happening across Europe. I think, you know, the take home for me, if there is one listening across that, is just to remember, I think, that you as a vet in the UK, you can be a member of the Association of Government Vets, and the Association of Government Vets is then is the membership organisation within the European Association. But you can also be represented through your BVA membership and your RCVS registration directly to the FVE at European level. So there's lots of different ways that individually and collectively we can all get involved in having these discussions, collaborating across Europe and really making a difference across a continental level, which takes state veterinary medicine certainly beyond the state, interstate veterinary medicine. So I will pause just in case there's any questions, particularly any clarifying questions or any particular things that spring to mind from the audience. Feel free to stick something in the chat or raise your hand. But while people are thinking, I will stick out a question which I might start with Jane, if that's all right. But I was just going to ask if you could you expand a bit more about this on the two-way benefits that might come from to vets and also from vets as being part of these European discussions.
I'm very happy to, Anthony. I'm really conscious it might be best to stop sharing your screen so that everyone can be seen. I don't think there's enough spaces otherwise. Brilliant. There you go. Thank you. Liz hasn't followed the memo to have the background. I'm liking a little bit of independence of thought there, Liz. So it is very much a two-way benefit. I think there's been, and Claire mentioned it, there's been particular value in understanding what is happening in the EU following Brexit, following EU exit. But of course, there was quite a lot of concern at the point at which the EU and the UK had our little divorce settlement. And it was really clear, and I wanted just to establish that the FVE does a lot of influencing in the EU towards the Commission. We're very respected stakeholders, but our membership is much wider than the EU. And it's something that sometimes I think I'm a bit of a stuck record when we sometimes write EU when we mean Europe. And I think that's one of the things that we can really benefit from as both vets and as UK residents, is that actually having that opportunity to be part of that wider Europe-wide network. What do we do in FVE? We really think about what those high priority issues are for our profession. We carry out surveys in order to understand the workforce, to understand the concerns, and we address, in line with our strategy, those challenges. We have our working groups at which we actually have a UK member in every working group. And in fact, Liz, I think you're going to be the chair of the animal welfare one, and Claire is going to be the deputy chair, the alternate chair of the animal health one. So we've got a huge amount of opportunity to share our expertise, our influence in those working groups. And I'm going to say that now because I know this is about EASVO, but EASVO also has representatives in the working groups. So what we have is an opportunity to bring all of those, that level of expertise together, to develop position papers and to influence policy making. Likewise, in return, we hear back what's happening. We've got lots of insight as to what the big ticket issues are in the wider profession. And I'm just going to say one thing that we're particularly proud of in the FVE at the moment. We've been working very closely with the Commission around the implementation in Europe of the Veterinary Medicines Directive regulation, which has some quite tricky interrelationships between the license conditions of veterinary medicines and the use of the cascade. And we've been able recently to sort of break open that tricky interrelationship and actually get that acknowledgement that veterinary professional judgment is vital in delivering efficient and efficacious medication through using our professional judgment in the cascade when it is necessary. I'm going to stop there because otherwise I could talk forever.
Thanks, Jane. I mean, thanks for giving us a flavour of all of these things and of this two-way benefit of both we can benefit FVE and FVE can benefit us, and the same goes for all of these organisations. And if we find good ways to engage with them, so yeah, please do stick your hand up or put a question in the chat as we go. We'd love to hear from any of the audience if you do have questions. But I'm going to go to Mark next and ask a question about EASVO. I think you touched on a few really interesting cross-cutting examples of topics that are relevant to European state vets. You mentioned ethics, moral stress. Could you sort of talk a little bit more about how that collaboration happens in practice, or just expand a bit more on what that looks like from an EASVO perspective?
Yeah, it's certainly the whole area of ethics and moral stress for the state vet, particularly. It's not the state vets are uniquely challenged with it, but I think increasingly it's difficult for state vets, and there's an obligation for your own individual integrity and your morals and whatever your thoughts on certain matters may be. But whenever you're working within a regulatory framework within your government or your competent authority, it's challenging. And it's interesting that we participated in a cross section joint session on that, where the various different stakeholders, the practitioners and the state vets and the researchers and etc. come together, and it really sort of enlightened me that particularly the state vets are perhaps uniquely challenged. So I'll give you one example. We were approached by a number of animal welfare charities based throughout Europe, and I was a little bit nervous when we first engaged with them, in that I think they saw the state vet as the gatekeeper, as potentially the guy or girl that's signing the cert, and therefore we have all this autonomy. And if we don't like the transport, or we don't like necessarily the treatment of the animals when they get to a certain country, that we have that autonomy. I was pleased in that. I thought the welfare charities were exceptionally pragmatic and reasonable. I thought, and I appreciated the difficult role the state vet had, and really were really alert to that. And my concern was that it would be viewed that we are the gatekeepers. Our signature can either be turned on or turned off, and we all know that isn't the case. So yeah, look, it's just interesting. And it was really interesting that whenever we participated in the joint session on it with the other sections, how it does seem to have a unique dynamic for state vets as opposed to maybe other actors in the veterinary profession.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, thanks for expanding on how that feels and how how that collaboration can work, really. So bringing those different perspectives together from different sectors and different viewpoints to drive it forward. I was going to go to Claire and Liz, both of you, really, to ask questions about how us as one vet, how do you really get involved in all of this? Because as an individual, what are your routes into these discussions? Both through AGV, but also through BVA and other member organisations. But Claire, you put your hand up first, so I don't know if you if you wanted to come in, yeah.
And it was a bit of a reflection actually on what and on the last question to Mark actually, and some of the discussions that we've had within EASVO, and I've found them really interesting and powerful and quite emotional. To hear about the different experiences of vets across Europe, and we'll remember that I think it was about the time last year of the last General Assembly in November that there was an anniversary of a Dutch vet that was actually killed as a result of their work, which is hugely concerning and tragic. And obviously it was some while ago, but it is still deeply felt by the profession. But sort of the conversations around moral stress and sort of some of the workplace challenges don't tend to go away. And it's really interesting to hear how different bodies within different countries and members of EASVO deal with those issues, and some of them, it's as examples, it's that vets go out in pairs to do whatever work they're doing, and actually where that creates a resource issue, that just is a resource issue that has to be borne. It's really interesting, really powerful to see how it's been dealt with, or how it could potentially be dealt with differently. And that's one of the really wonderful things about being part of the EASVO, is really realizing that there are similar challenges, sometimes shared approaches and sometimes different approaches, and realizing that we're really just in it together a lot of the time.
Thanks, Claire. And that for me is personally why I love being part of AGV and part of and through AGV part of other organisations, where you can really feel like you are in this together and you can share, and it is a big extended family. But yeah, I'll turn to Liz then next, if you wanted to give any reflections as how individual vets in the UK, can get involved in these in this sort of European level work.
Yeah, I mean, you could directly get involved with European level work, but there's lots of opportunities to get involved at a UK level first, which is probably the natural entry point for most people. So that would be via the specialist divisions, as you've said, being part of VPHA or the Government Vet Association or any of the other BVA specialist divisions is a really great way in. Most of those organisations will have committee places you can apply for, or council positions you can apply for. And I guess most people who become BVA officers have come into BVA through one of the committees. So I was on policy committee and then chaired that, and that was my route into being an officer. We have a slightly odd thing with BVA that FVE just comes around every 3 years randomly. So if you happen to be the junior vice president on the year that comes round, you get FVE for 6 years. So for me, that's been an absolute win. I spent a lot of my early career overseas, and I really love being in that environment with people from different countries. As Claire has suggested, it's a bit like when you first got together with your mates from college and you realise some of them genuinely have got better jobs than you, but a lot of them have got it a lot tougher, and it makes you appreciate what you've got. And just that kind of making relationships and friends within the EU means that when there's things we've got to work together on, we can do that really well. So yeah, I'd really encourage people to get involved with their specialist division, and probably keep an eye out for committee vacancies, both in the UK and, as Jane suggested, those have just come up within FVE, and myself and Clara are lucky enough to have been able to take those on. But there's also the Young Vet Networks as well, both in the UK and within FVE. So plenty of opportunities to get involved, and we'd really be happy to speak to anybody who wants a bit more information on how to do that.
Thanks very much, Liz. Please, if anyone in the audience does have a question or would like to stick the hand up, yeah, you're very welcome to use the chat, or come in with any questions that pop into your mind. Would love to hear from you. But yeah, Claire, I don't know if you wanted to add anything further. I think Liz kind of covered it really well, but did you want to add anything further from AGV perspective?
Well, only working on the basis if you mention something 3 times, it might stick. So I'm going to mention the Young Vet Network again, and just say that there are literally no strings attached to that as an entry point into the European sort of fora for discussions, and it gives you an opportunity to sit in on EASVO meetings as well online, which is obviously a lot more feasible for people. And yeah, with a group of over 30 people, then you've got people from all across Europe to be able to talk to and share. And reflecting on some of the topics that have been brought by the Young Vet Network to EASVO, it's also a two-way street. So there's always the discussions around the horizon issues that the Young Vet Network bring to our General Assemblies, and actually things that as EASVO get taken forward as points to raise with the Commission. That's happened before now. So for an initiative that's really only been going a couple of years now, it really is carrying some weight. So that's a good way to dip your toe into the water. And there we are always welcoming an AGV of committee members, which is where much of the EASVO matters and then the FVE matters get discussed from a state veterinary perspective, and we form our positions. So please speak to either Anthony or myself about the possibility of joining AGV and then joining the council.
Thanks, Claire. And thanks for the plug for the Young Vet Network again. Certainly, it's a great opportunity to get involved. And yeah, but Jane, you have got your hand up, so I will come to you.
Yeah, it's just a small additional way of getting involved, and again with some no strings attached. We circulate in the FVE, we circulate our position papers for member consultation, and there is always an opportunity to look at those papers and provide feedback through either BVA and RCVS as FVE members, or as we're in our AGV meeting here through AGV. And certainly we get some really helpful insight and feedback from our members on those papers. And sometimes they go through 2 or 3 rounds of consultation, because something could be quite contentious, or it could be that there is a developing situation. And, really actually getting that wider perspective from the whole of our membership just brings so much power to the papers. Remember, we go in with these position papers saying the FVE represents 330,000 vets across our 38 member countries, and that has a lot of power when we're then trying to influence policy making and so on.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. I'm going to move us, in the absence of any questions, which I've still very much welcome, if anyone would like to ask one. I'll ask Mark then a sort of a personal question. How did you end up as EASVO rep? EASVO Vice President, and how did you get into get into this field? So any personal reflections on what's motivated you on your journey to European state level representation? See, I'm garbling my acronyms now.
I was a past president of our Veterinary Officers Association in Ireland, and on the way out the door for the president, the reward is let's go to Europe for a couple of years, and that was very much my plan to wind down my involvement in veterinary politics, etc. But then I had the misfortune of meeting Jane Clark, who got me more involved, and Jane was a very active and good president of EASVO at that time. I got on the board, and I said it in my earlier presentation, the FVE really is it's a wonderful organization. You get out of it what you put in, okay? And it definitely takes a little bit of time when you first get in to understand how it works and the different relationships, etc. But it is a very inclusive setup. My kids refer to it as Eurovision for vets. So I don't know if that's what it really is, but yeah, and I've just got more immersed into it. As I said, being honest, my idea when I first went wasn't to get overly involved, but it's just evolved that way. So yeah, I'd encourage people to there's different levels of involvement. Again, our Young Vet Network, I don't know if anybody's mentioned that yet. That could be a good starting point. But look, there's lots of need for national experts or different opinions or working groups, etc. So yeah, that's how I got involved in it. As I say, it wasn't necessarily intended to be get involved as deep as I did, but I suppose that's the way things evolve.
Thanks, Mark. And I don't know if any of the other panel wanted to come in with any personal reflections on their journey and how they've got involved in this work. I'll pause in case of any hands. Go on, Jane.
Maybe I could come in as well. So yes, I wouldn't say it was voluntold, but Mark was definitely in my sights. So I was like, you'll be great in the board. Please come and join us. But sometimes timing is just really important as well. And you may need to be a little bit patient. Liz talked about the good luck that she had, that her junior vice president year for the BVA was an FVE representative year. My good luck was that when I sort of came out of the end of my EASVO presidency, the UK was perhaps a little less of a pariah when it came for me standing to the FVE board. That probably wouldn't have been possible a few years earlier because of, and I use that term slightly jokingly, but of course, the relationships were a little bit more difficult around the Brexit time. So sometimes it is about luck and good timing, but as Mark says, you only get out of it what you put in. You do need to invest to get things back, and I can only stress that it can be quite hard work. We do a lot of travel, especially in my board position. In June, I will be in Finland. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it? And it is. And then I'll be in Canada representing the FVE at the CVMA for a week at the end of June. And then I come back and I've got 2 visits 1 week after the next in Brussels on animal health matters. So it can be quite intense, but honestly, you get so much back out of it. And I cannot stress enough how much I really value what we do as FVE, as a profession, and how much that brings both to the profession as a whole, but also to you as an individual.
Thanks, Jane. I think from my perspective, it's one of these sliding scales where you can choose how much to individually put in. I think we all have day jobs as well and family lives and other things, and so you can go right from one end of just to attend the odd webinar, read a newsletter, provide a bit of comment. That's absolutely fine. But obviously, the gatekeeper really is to be a member of one of the UK level veterinary organisations. So obviously, I would promote being a member of the Association of Government Vets, and we've got 3 AGV council members on the call today, and that's for your 40 quid a year membership, you get access to the FVE and EASVO newsletters, which get sent to you, but also opportunities to join council, get part of these discussions. So there are plenty of opportunities to get involved as much or as little as you want to, and all the way up to Jane's international travel and incredible experiences that you can get, at FVE level.
Could I just come in on that as well, Anthony? Because please also don't forget what you do in your day job can really set you up well to be representing the UK, either BVA, RCVS, AGV. Anthony and I crossed over. Anthony in his day job in Samarkand at the WOA Regional Commission, and I was representing FVE. It's pretty cool to be in Uzbekistan, isn't it? But the thing that reminded me of this is that actually, Anthony, that stands you in brilliant stead for the expertise that you need to be able to be influential, building relationships, having the veterinary expertise and the knowledge. Just wanted to add that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. Mark, please do come in.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I just wanted to say also part of the key success of the FVE, obviously passionate people like Jane to be the vice president and do all that work. There's a really, really strong permanent team behind the FVE in Brussels. A really that you need the hard work done. You need the hard miles done. You need the documents, etc., etc. So I would say that in my experience, I haven't really been involved with an organisation of such. There's a true passion of those people, and they always get excited like little children for the General Assemblies to meet all the different vets. And so, like, the key driving force, obviously you need passionate people to front and to speak, but a lot of the hard work is done behind the scenes in Brussels by very dedicated people.
Absolutely, yeah, keeps the wheels on the road for an organisation of the significance and impact of FVE for sure. I think AGV in comparison is much more volunteer run, and sadly we don't have an office team, but beyond our wonderful group of volunteers on council. But Liz, yeah, do come in.
Yeah, I think Mark's absolutely right with that. It makes a huge difference. You know, I've worked with, British Veterinary Zoological Society, we have no staff, so it's very much like AGV, it's a different place. The reason I put my hand up though is, you know, there is an element of travel here. General Assembly, you know, is twice a year. But I think what's really useful is what we're doing at the moment. I think Teams and Zoom have made the world a smaller place, and it's much more easy to get together with colleagues, and with a slightly feminist hat on, it makes it more accessible for women perhaps who are juggling maybe families and jobs a little bit more than you blokes to be part of this. And I think that is really useful. I think certainly within BVA we've seen our committees, you know, perhaps open up a little bit with remote meetings. In a way, trekking into London for a 4-hour meeting wasn't possible, and as Jane says, going to Azerbaijan I'm sure is great fun, but you know, not everybody has time to do that all the time. And you know, 2 or 3 hour Teams meeting is a lot easier for everybody, and that's very much how a lot of things are run. And yeah, it makes that easy for everyone to be part of it.
Yeah, thanks, Liz, and Claire, do come in as well.
No, I was just actually hand up because there's a question in the chat from Bill. So I'm going to let you jump to that, and then we might need to move to wrap up on our last word cloud.
We will. And sorry, I haven't seen the question. It'll be my. Yes. So yeah, it's from Vil. What is the most important current issue where EASVO, FVE, and AGV can achieve more together than one organisation could achieve alone? So that might well work as a wrap-up question to go around the panel. If you could suggest an issue that comes to mind, but I don't know if anybody wants to put a hand up and go first. Yes, Liz.
Yeah, go on, I'll go first. So as the incoming chair of the Animal Welfare Committee, animal welfare, because, you know, a lot of the issues are Europe-wide. Some of the animals, for example, are moving Europe-wide. So, yeah, I think that, you know, that's kind of where my heart is. And I think animal welfare across Europe is quite a big thing we can make a difference with.
Thank you, and completely agree. I'll come to Claire next.
Well, I'm going to say animal health as deputy chair of the committee. And just as an example of that, it's going to be discussed at the next GA is the biosecurity paper that's been worked on, that's been mentioned, which is really focused on disease resilience and how does Europe cope with a decade, as I think it's being called, a decade of diseases. We've had more than our fair share in the UK, but probably less than some of our European colleagues. And it's a fantastic forum for discussing that, and all of that has fed into the biosecurity paper that will be hopefully signing off at the next GA, and through that shared knowledge we're able to work better together.
Thanks, Claire. And as the poll goes in the background, please do submit that to the word cloud. I'll pass on to Jane.
Yes, thank you. I could have said both of those. Liz and Claire, fully supportive, but I'm going to go for something slightly different, and that is the future of the profession. I think we've got so many moving parts. Society's changing, expectations are changing, the way that we deliver veterinary services are changing. We know in the UK that is the case, but equally it's the case for the whole of Europe because it's a global situation. The FVE does a vet survey. Hopefully some of you will have seen it and responded to it. We will have our 4th vet survey analysed in the next few months. We're going to get a preview at the General Assembly. And I think thinking about how we as vets, allied professionals, technology and other stakeholders work together to deliver our outcomes, well-being, all of those things, that's the thing that we can really do together.
Thanks, Jane. And then Mark, any closing words for you before we wrap up
Well,
for today.
maybe it's appropriate for the audience, but maybe it's also true. We'll not tell anybody. I actually think state vets, and the role of state vets, I think it's actually possibly, if anything, even we punch a little bit above our weight above with FVE. And the reason we do is because state vets are ultimately at the core of much of what FVE is trying to achieve about policy, etc., and animal health. And so the role of the state vets is very much at the core of FVE. And I just mentioned in my earlier presentation, even how state vets perceive themselves and are perceived in the profession in different countries is definitely a challenge. It's very interesting that. So I actually see that role of the promotion of state vets specifically and the importance of that work. I think it's very at the heart of FVE, and it helps for us to work along with them on that.
Well, thanks, Mark, and huge thanks to all of the panel for your amazing insights over the last hour. I hope this has been an informative and interesting presentation for everybody. Thanks for your responses to the word cloud. Clearly, there's a lot of value UK vets can get from representation, words like insight, unity, professional representation, influence, voice, all these words. So I would encourage you to join AGV, join BVA, join in with councils and other opportunities individually to get involved in these sorts of discussions at European level. Think about the EASVO Young Vet Network, so get in touch with me or Claire if you'd like to get involved in that. But thank you all. Thank you very much to the FVE team for facilitating this presentation, making it a lot slicker than it would have been on the technology side and on the practical side as well. So a huge thank you to the FVE team and wishing you all a very pleasant Friday afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.